Hey guys, it's been even longer than last time, but I'm back, and in today's video, I'm going to be building my sister her dream home in Bloxburg. So let's get right into it. Basically, I was talking with my sister, and I remembered that a few years ago, back in 2017 when I played Bloxburg, I built her a house and it didn't really turn out that well. So I thought it'd be a good idea to rebuild her dream house in Bloxburg. She wasn't really too particular with what she wanted for the build. The only things she told me was that she didn't want a super elaborate or large house, something smaller that looks similar to a cottage rather than a more modern build. So I basically found a few images that I thought she would like, and I can put those on screen for you guys too. So she liked how those looked, so I thought it'd be a good idea to recreate those in Bloxburg. You may be wondering, why did you build the house on your plot instead of your sister's plot if the house is for her? And the reason I did that was because she doesn't really have any of the game passes, and I wanted to make her a pretty good house to the best of my ability, and then in the future, if she ever gets the game passes, or at least a few of them, I could always just recreate it on her plot, since I have the video for how I built it. I also wanted to include my sister in the voiceover for this video, but it wasn't really working out, so I think I may just do a part 2 in the future. So whenever I recreate the build on her plot, I can maybe like improve the build a little bit, and then also have her in the video to make a part 2 or something like that. I definitely need to get better at using basic shapes though, because I feel like they're really useful whenever you need to make custom windows or custom roofs, because I'm not really sure how to do that yet. I've seen a lot of builds that do that, and I think it really elevates it to make the build look a lot more realistic. It just gets kind of confusing though, so hopefully I'll be able to improve on that. The good thing though is that it makes my builds pretty easy to replicate, hopefully. I know a lot of people aren't really remaking any of my builds, but in case you do want to, they're pretty easy to make since I don't do anything too complex. I think the only basic shapes that I used to make something custom was the dormer on the right side of the roof, and then the little window bit that sticks out in the middle. And then besides that, later in the video I did make some custom potters, I guess you could call them, for under the windows, and then I also made some custom shutters, but they were really easy to make. Now that I'm watching the actual recording of me building, I think I also made a custom chimney, which you'll also see. I guess I did do some more basic shape stuff than I usually do, but they're all really easy to make. Now that the school year is kind of almost over, I feel like everything's going by so fast. And it's not that I have a crazy amount of schoolwork, but the work that I do have, all my teachers end up assigning it in the same week. So it'll be like 1 week of peace and then 1 week of chaos. So basically what happens is, I'll start a build because I won't have too much schoolwork 1 week, and then bam, the next week comes and then there's a whole swarm of schoolwork because it was all being built up and saved for the next week. But I was halfway through this build, and then I look at the bottom corner of my screen and then I got disconnected, which isn't too much of a problem because it happens from time to time. But then the Wi-Fi wasn't turning back on. So then I ended up checking with my parents, and apparently a landline fell in our neighborhood. So we didn't have Wi-Fi for like a week, which was both good and bad because it gave me an excuse for not having to do as much homework, but then I also couldn't work on the build at the same time. I didn't want to be doing nothing though for the build, so I thought that I could work in Bloxburg on my phone. So I tried doing that, but I don't know how you guys play Bloxburg on the phone. It's really difficult. And I think I've seen a few Bloxburg builders who actually make videos on their phone. So to any mobile Bloxburg builders, definitely props to you guys because it's really difficult. I wasn't even trying to build anything, I was just trying to work to get some of my money up, and it was really difficult even just delivering a few pizzas. So definitely shoutouts to you guys. I do have a lot of things to update you guys about though since it's been a while. I don't know what I'm gonna do whenever school ends because I feel like anything interesting to talk about happens at school. Because I definitely want to make a lot more videos during the summer since I won't be in school, but the bad thing about that is that I won't have many stories to talk about since at school that's where all the funny stuff happens. Earlier this week, at the time that I'm recording the commentary, it was actually like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I still remember it because it was embarrassing. If you think you're embarrassing, trust me, I'm definitely a lot worse because I somehow always find a way to embarrass myself pretty much every week. Basically, I was walking out of school to find my car, right, so I could drive home. And then as I'm walking out, there's a carpool line like in front of the school. So to walk to my car, I have to pass through the carpool lane. And as I'm walking through the carpool lane, I see one of the cars, and it's one of the cars that one of my friend's mom drives. So I kind of like looked through the window, and Without thinking, I just started waving because I thought it would be her. And then as I'm getting closer to the car, as I'm waving, I kind of like see better through the window, and surprise, it was not her mom. So here I am just waving at the front of the school at this random lady in the car, and there were a bunch of people around me too, so they all saw me waving at the person in the car, and then nobody was waving back. So I pretty much just looked away because the lady, she was not looking back at me, and then I just walked to my car. It was so bad though because she didn't even like try to attempt to give a polite wave. She just was staring at me like I was a stranger, which I was, but I thought she would at least give a small wave, you know? That kind of reminds me though of this one time. This was last school year, it wasn't this school year, but we had a substitute teacher, or so I thought. So I was walking up to class and I was talking with my friend, but then our teacher wasn't showing up. So I was pretty excited because usually substitute teachers let you talk in class, so I thought it'd be a lot more fun since my history teacher is one of the mean history teachers. So I'm like celebrating outside of her classroom, and then what do you know? She walks out of the bathroom right next door and she sees me like celebrating. She didn't tell me anything, but she definitely looked mad, and she was mad pretty much for the rest of the school year. Which, it was definitely my bad, but she's one of those teachers who's always working against the students. Like if you have a question, she gets really annoyed and doesn't want to answer it. I probably should have waited until I saw the sub though, before I started celebrating. I don't think I actually included the color scheme in the build of this because I think I've said this in pretty much all of my past videos or builds, but change it up however you want and make it look better if you have any color schemes that you're good with. So to save everyone's time, I just put in the final colors I think at the end. But if you have any questions about the colors or anything, definitely let me know because I can answer them. It's like the color schemes and in the back of my builds, just nobody needs to talk about them. My sister did want the build to be a little colorful though, so you're not going to see the color until the very end when I added a bunch of flowers, and then I did add some decal plants and then some shutters that I made the color pink. That's pretty much it for the build though. It wasn't too complicated at all, and I usually don't end up putting the gardening in the actual video because it's just a bunch of repetitive placing of the same plants, which you'll see in the tour. And then besides that, I added a few decal trees, but that's about it, so I hope you guys enjoy the tour.